Well, joining me now is Arthur Laffer, former Reagan economic advisor, Karine Jean-Pierre, senior advisor at MoveOn.org, and back with us are Dana Milbank and E.J. Dion. And some of you guys were actually at that table or a part of it. And Karine, you were at the table for that interesting conversation, attempted conversation with Peter Navarro. How surprised are you, and how concerned are you that he may soon be running American economic policy?
So first of all, Joy, I had no idea who he was before we did that panel. I really didn't know who Peter Navarro was, and clearly after that performance, you learned that he's like a prickly, cartoon character who's condescending, arrogant, and clearly wants to push agenda and policy that will take this country back decades upon decades. So that's what I learned from him, but I actually didn't know who he was, and it was one of those things, Joy, where it was shocking that it was happening, but at the same time, when you really deep down think about it, you're like, oh yeah, of course, he's a Trump, supporter. Of course he's talking like this. Of course he's condescending. Of course he's offering $100. And it was, you handled it really well.
By the way.
I'm sorry. Oh yeah, female. Exactly. But
yeah.
You handled him wonderfully and made sure that we never had to see him again on MSNBC. So thank you.
Yeah, he was disinvited from the next segment. Just spoiler alert. Arthur Laffer, I wonder if Peter Navarro is a respected figure in terms of conservative economists, because he doesn't seem to be all that well known, even outside of our world of talking politics.
Yeah, he is not very well known, that's for sure. But in California, he is well known. He ran for the mayor of San Diego. I think he ran for Congress there. He's a professor in Irvine. So he's well known in California, but not nationally. That's true. And he's covered the range on trade. I mean, he's wrote a book, I think in the 90s, that was all free trade. And now he has specialized in this other area. But, I know him not well, but I know him peripherally. And he seems like a very pleasant, nice person to me. I saw that segment. That was quite something.
It was something
don't ever
special.
push me there, please.
No, I don't think you would offer me $100 to any other panelist. Firstly, I don't think you would do that, Art. EJ,
No.
You were there that day as well, EJ. Some of the things people are writing about Peter Navarro and his views, the Associated Press quotes Stephen Moore, who's also a free trader, but who's completely a Trump supporter, says that he and Trump, Navarro and Trump, agree on an America First policy when it comes to trade and other issues. So he's emerged as a policy force in this administration. Other than him being able to impress Donald Trump on TV, I'm not sure what that means about his actual policy views. He himself said that this is the president's vision, and so my function really as an economist is to provide the underlying analytics that confirm his intuition. And by the way, his intuition is always right. So I don't get it.
Let me just say,
Oh, go ahead, Art.
Yeah, let me just say that what I hope they're talking about and what I think they are is looking at the trade agreements in detail. I was very involved with TPP. And if you look at that deal is very poorly constructed. I mean, all the major protectionist issues have been taken off the table. We have non-tariff barriers in Japan were taken off the table. Currency manipulation wasn't. What I would love to see is I'd like to see these deals rewritten to make them truly free trade and truly balanced across the board. And I hope that's what they're talking about as well.
I don't think
Joy,
it is, EJ.
I ceded to Art on that because, A, I was trying to be polite, and B, because I still cringe watching that moment. I'm not shell-shocked that much on TV after all this time, but that one really got to me. And here's what I think. I think Trump loves it when people behave that way toward his opponents, and that works in his favor. But I think there are enough people around Trump who will say, look, you are the only guy who is supposed to behave that way. This guy will not sell any of your ideas very effectively. And I think the problem with Peter Navarro is, as Mr. Laffer pointed out, he's flip-flopped from a kind of libertarian position to this new America First position. And so you just wonder, will even Donald Trump realize this isn't the best way to defend my policies?
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting, Dana, because you've got, Donald Trump tweeting, from Bush 1 to present, our country's lost more than 55,000 factories, 6 million manufacturing jobs, and accumulated trade deficits of more than $12 trillion. Last year, we had a trade deficit of almost $800 billion. He was president, I believe, at the time. Bad policies and leadership must win again. We are out of TPP, but TPP still exists. It's just China's running it and we're just not involved. Donald Trump has sort of wrecked our international trade agreements with nothing to replace it. And have you heard, maybe you're in Washington, I'm not, have you heard some genius policy to bring back 1950s era manufacturing coal and steel out of this White House?
Well, Joy, I want to go on the record offering you $100. $100 if you can come up with any reality-based evidence justifying anything Peter Navarro is proposing right now. Now, look, I mean, you have Trump saying steel jobs are coming back. That's a justification for doing this, and it's so outlandish. I mean, even in the unlikely event a new steel plant were built because of this, the reason we've been losing steel jobs over this time is because technology has made the industry so much more productive. There hasn't really been a surge in imports over decades. It's fundamentally other things going on in the business. So this may sound good when you're in Moon Township. It may give people who have lost their jobs in steel and coal and manufacturing a good feeling to say, let's blame the foreigners. It's just not what's happening. So when you go and attack the foreigners, yes, you'll make steel more expensive, but steel jobs aren't coming back.
Yeah, and really quickly, last word to you, Art, isn't it that the case? Donald Trump cannot bring back the early 20th century economy, and meanwhile, he is triggering retaliatory tariffs on our goods, on our steel and aluminum exports that are only going to hurt the economy in the U.S., including in those states where people voted for him.
Yeah, let me just say two things. One is he has exempted a number of countries from the steel tariffs. That he has done.
Which means they're meaningless.
Which makes the tariff much less impactful and, to my way of thinking, much less harmful. The point I think I'd like to make, though, and I'm from Youngstown, Ohio, I was born there, and I'm a steel family all the way, is Ohio's economic policies make steel production in Ohio terrible. Michigan, Illinois, all of those states. If you come to my new home state, Tennessee, we're flourishing here because we have no income tax, we have rapid economic growth, we have a surplus in our budget. It really is, to a large extent, the regulatory anti-growth policies of states that have really caused a lot of the traditional steel areas to be disastrously impacted, and there's no curing that without going to the states themselves.
I knew you'd get to taxes, Art.
Yeah, how did we guess? How could we have guessed? How would we have guessed? I should have offered $100 for the first person to mention taxes. Darn it, I missed my windfall. Arthur Laffer, Arthur Laffer, Dana Milbank, thank you guys. Karina and EJ will be back. And coming up,
thank you.
Immigrant rights.